The concept of sustainable development suggests that human well-being is often closely interconnected with environmental sustainability.
To think of it as a concept that has social and environmental and economic dimensions, and to understand these different dimensions simultaneously.
What we find in our study is that where communities have meaningful, substantive control over decision-making processes surrounding forest management, we're more likely to see positive outcomes in community-managed forests for both rural livelihoods, but also environmental outcomes we care about. So community forest governance can help to advance towards sustainable development in these contexts.
I would say that this research has implications for what governments can do to improve the different outcomes that community forests provide.
We're very excited about this work because it comes from a global data set of 314 community-managed forests spread across 15 tropical countries. And we analyzed this data to look at 3 different outcomes: rural livelihood contributions, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity. And we consider these 3 outcomes together. We do a cluster analysis to identify different kinds of forests that we find in the IFRI data set. However, we find one class of forests that tend to do overall fairly well on rural livelihoods, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity. To show this, we study 2 different variables. And one variable is whether there is some legislation or recognition from the state that communities have rights to manage local forests. The other variable we consider is rulemaking autonomy. And this is a variable that signals that communities are able to define rules for use and management of forests. We also considered one additional variable, and that is whether the forest had been targeted for tree planting. Interestingly, we did not see a positive association with tree planting and multiple positive outcomes from community-managed forests. In our data, governance was a far stronger predictor of multiple positive outcomes than tree planting alone.
So one of our findings in this study is that where communities and their rights in forests have formal legal recognition by governments, we see improved outcomes for these different kinds of benefits that forests provide. When the community organizations know that what they are doing in the forest is recognized by the government, they feel reassured to do things that are aligned with their needs. If they feel that their forest is declining, they can plant trees. If they feel that their forest is in a good condition, they can extract some benefits. If they feel some parts of the forest are in a better condition compared to other parts, they can shift the locations where they are undertaking harvesting practices.
There is one very important implication of our study for understanding governance, which is that enabling and empowering communities to participate in decision-making processes is not a quick fix.
So we need to understand what's the nature of the relationship among these different outcomes. And further, we need to understand what is it that enables synergies or co-benefits to occur together, and when is it that these different benefits are in tension with each other.
In many of our forests, we find trade-offs. We find forests that are high in biodiversity, but low on livelihoods, for example.
If biodiversity is increasing, is it also leading at the same time to an increase in sequestration of carbon?
Or forests that are high in carbon, but low on biodiversity.
If we are increasing carbon sequestration, are we somehow reducing the benefits forests provide in terms of livelihoods?
But what our work shows is that the ability of communities to manage local resources may be more important over the long term. This means that we can get creative with policy solutions. Perhaps there are institutions that are better able to harness local capacities to manage forests. Perhaps there's other ways that we can better support communities to do this.
One solution that many governments, that many decision makers advocate for is tree planting. But it's also important to recognize that tree planting without involvement of local communities and local residents can actually produce very adverse consequences for them. So tree planting works best when local communities are involved.
Planting trees can be a great thing if the right tree is planted in the right place. I would really like to see the global policy community move beyond this focus on tree planting targets
Some of the basic ideas that we need to advance is to gain a deeper understanding of these patterns of relationship among different outcomes across other forests in other parts of the world. We need to understand how we can partner with decision makers in both local and higher level governments so that they see that the role that communities play in governing their own forests is critical to both the longer term sustainability of forests, but also to social cohesion, to reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, to maintenance and improvements, perhaps even in biodiversity, to increasing well-being of communities that depend on forests.
If we want to get communities on board, if we want to make sure that forests keep providing benefits for poverty reduction and the environment, we need to do more than just gesture towards participation. We need to create institutions and a legislative context that really gives them the power to manage local resources.
The importance of what we do in partnership with other stakeholders, I cannot overstate it enough. This is perhaps the most important implication of the work that we did.